Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about affording Masterpiece Transformers. Now, I hear in the comments a lot down below, people saying that they wish they could afford Masterpiece. They'd love to collect Masterpiece. Masterpiece is too expensive, and price is one of the issues. Space is the other when it comes to Masterpiece. Now, we've had this discussion before, but we're going to go down this road, and I'm going to give you some points for both new collectors and collectors that have been collecting for a long time. So let's get into talking about affording Masterpiece collecting coming up. Okay, although I just made this video yesterday, or put it out yesterday, but going to Disney World was expensive. It cost over $4,000. You got to watch the video to find out exactly how much. I do a breakdown in that for you and show you all the expenses. But for me personally, I would have never gone because I didn't think the money was worth it. But my family wanted to go, so they have the memories and all of that. But I really would rather spend the money on something that I can have and hold and have in my hand. So it comes down to priorities. What are you going to spend your money on? Would you rather spend your money on a collection? Would you rather spend your money on a week of this? Of a vacation, maybe not to here, but somewhere else? Would you rather spend it on experiences? Would you rather spend it on things? Or would you rather spend it on things that end up turning into experiences? Okay, so my first point is, if you're a new collector, buy the old version when the new version comes out. Now, it doesn't always magically translate and work out like that, but generally when, say, Fans Toys comes out with a new one, sometimes when X Transbots comes out with one, when there's a new figure, the older, more inferior figure is fire sold at low prices. And the case with this Tesla, and I keep bringing it back up, I know, but I thought it was good for the time. I knew it wasn't the best that could ever be made, but at the time when this was the only one out there, it was selling for like $500 because it was the only one, and it was that good. It was good enough to command $500 at the time. Now this thing, people can barely get 100 out of it, a perfect one, mint in the box, because there's two better options out there, and so people want to fire sell to help pay for the other one. Now, I saw the same thing with this Bumblebee, and this Bumblebee was when they first jumped up to $63 for a little mini bot. Nowadays, we're paying $100 for mini bots, and happy to do it because they're a little bit bigger than this guy. They're made with die casts. They're made with a lot of paint. So this is early, semi-rudimentary type of design, but I never liked this one, and I was kind of verbal about it. People kind of hated me for that, whatever. But I did like the add-in. I like the little spike, so I thought it was pretty cool. But this is another one. They got the 2.0 out, and there's probably going to be more Bumblebees coming from like Fans Toys or something down the road, but it'll probably be Robot Paradise, maybe. But getting the old version, something like this, you can get it on the cheap. And when Fans Toys starts putting out their Headmasters, then you can probably get the Make Toys versions, or there's the knockoff of the Make Toys versions with the Yes model. Those will probably be fire sold dirt cheap because they were originally only like $80 or something along those lines, and some places had them for $60. But when the Fans Toys comes out with theirs, the placeholders, the place fillers, those are going to be sold off, fire sold off. They have to be sold cheap because there's going to be so many of them on the market that if you're going to actually sell it, you're going to have to put it below the price that everyone else is asking. Now, oddly enough, it'll be kind of interesting to find out if people fire sell their X Transbots. Andrus, is it Andrus? Well, this one here. So when Fans Toys comes out with their swoop, their sweeps, their Scourge and their sweeps, then will the X Transbots one be fire sold for real cheap? That'll be very interesting because I think the X Transbots one looks pretty good, and this could be a Troop Builder, Army Builder, so that'll be a fun thing to find out when it happens. So my next point is, when you're buying Transformers, Masterpiece Transformers, and maybe you're buying old ones from somebody else, but work in a deal. Buy them in bulk. Buy a lot of figures. Buy a bulk deal. Generally, if somebody's trying to sell 12 Masterpiece Transformers, usually what happens is they get cherry picked, and then they're stuck with the most undesirable or the least desirable figures or characters that are in their collection that they're trying to sell off, or just the group of figures they're selling off. But if you swoop in and you say, I want to buy them all, you're going to get a much better deal. Or at least if you say, hey, I want to buy half of what you have, they're going to cut you a better deal. Buying in bulk always helps out because sellers just want to kind of get rid of it, and getting rid of more at one time feels good, and seeing a much bigger number than they would have just selling one figure. So buying in bulk is definitely a good way to get a good deal, and it usually works out the best. And then sellers that want top dollar, of course, are going to have to pay out well, they're not paying. They're going to have to part out and wait a long time. So the next point is selling off your old figures, your old stuff. If you've been in this game for a while and you're trying to generate some cash to afford it, you generally sell your old stuff. This is a really tough market in 2023 for selling old stuff. And generally, if you're wanting to get rid of it and part with it, chances are there's somebody out there that's wanting to take it on, but not for a really super high price. But with that, that's another avenue to go, is selling your old. Now, this isn't a selling video, but a tip is that if you have the box, you have the packaging, people are more interested in buying it. Even if they're going to just throw the packaging away, they're more interested in having it in the package. I guess it's on a subconscious level. It lets the buyer think that you took better care of your item. I'm truly not 100% sure why, but in 90% of the cases, figures with the box command a higher price than the exact same figure without the box, and it's not 100% of the time, but it's about 90% of the time. So hold on to your boxes, because it usually increases your resale value, but not by a whole lot. So my next point to kind of help people learn how to afford collecting Masterpiece is to shop around. Now, I have to say, in my early days, I was buying most of my stuff from TF Source, and I don't have anything against TF Source. They're a little bit on the higher price side, though. And with that, when I first heard about Shozi, it was like a best-kept secret, and at the time, figures were between $30 and $50 cheaper, and on the really high end, $100 cheaper through Shozi. Now, going through all of the reasons why, I actually don't know 100% all of the reasons why they can deliver a much lower price than some of the other competitors that I was going through at the time, but I have started working with Shozi because they have the best price. I order from them, and I like making reviews for them and all that kind of stuff. So with that, they've taken good care of me. They've taken good care of the people that I've sent that way. So I'm very happy with them, and I'm very pleased with their service and everything about Shozi. But the biggest thing is the price, and the biggest thing is that the points rewards are so easy because it just shows up. You can use them on your very next purchase like instantly 3 minutes later. So there's so much about it that it's just so much easier to use than a whole lot of other sites and a lot of places. So with that, I look for the lowest price. Now, there are some Shozi clones that are popping up out there, and they're going to give a slightly better price than Shozi because they're wanting to emulate Shozi's business model and try to be like Shozi, but they're not Shozi. So anyway, that is something that's going on. Still, I'm not saying you have to go to Shozi. Shop around, find the best price at the best place that you can find it, and order from it. But you got to know, are they reputable? Now, sticking with this, I do want to talk about a few other things. We're starting to see an era of clearance again. So I'm sticking with this picture because we see some clearance prices, we see some markdown prices, and sale prices. So that's another thing that we didn't see much in 2020, 2021, and a little bit starting into 2022. We start to see sales on decent items. There were clearance and sell items for stuff that nobody really even wanted or looked at, because that's kind of always what happens. But when it comes to something that's very popular, like a Fans Toys figure or some of the X-Transbots figures, you start to see sales on them nowadays, and that's actually the norm. That's the normal business operating. That doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong or anything bad. It's just the fact that that's the norm because we have less people looking at it and collecting. And the other thing, oddly enough, you see these sales and clearances because there's less resellers out there right now. So the next point I want to talk about is KOs. Now, that's another thing. It's another reason I like Shozi, because they carry KO products. Some of the other places I dealt with, TF Source doesn't carry knockoffs, which they do carry some of the McFans Toys Legends and a few other things that are, I don't know. They just are considered not knockoffs. But for whatever reason, they do carry knockoffs at Shozi, and with that, you can usually get them about half the price. Now, I'm going to talk more about this Skyfire, like release date, what I think the price will be. All that's going to be in the news on Sunday, but I'm pretty excited for this guy, and he's coming way quicker than I thought, so that's pretty exciting right there. One of the best ways to get Takara's Masterpiece figures that are sold out, that you can't find the official anymore, and for whatever reason Takara's not reissuing them, is to go with a KO. And I'm firmly okay with KO. And I buy both. I buy the original, and then I buy the KO, and then I do the comparison. And for me, that's fine. I never had a problem with KO ever, because I believe that the KOs, which are in the Transformer community, really good. Some of the KOs of the Star Wars stuff is just junk. It breaks real easy, and I've had that firsthand. Some of the other KOs in other areas. But most of the Transformer KOs are pretty solid. They do pretty good work, and with that, that's an introduction to Masterpiece for a lot of people that are like, is it worth getting into Masterpiece? Is it much better than Chug? Is it really that good? And so getting a first foot in with the KO, that is definitely something that's pretty good. And if the KO sucked, I wouldn't recommend them. And if your first foot into Masterpiece was a figure shattering on you because it was poor quality and it was just made poorly, then it would definitely wreck your opinion of the entire Masterpiece line. I understand all of that, but in the Transformers realm, a lot of these KOs are pretty solid. So the next tip that I have is if there's a figure you want, or you really want a figure, I suggest you pre-order this figure. And it's turning into, more now than I've ever seen before, a better pre-order price. And so one of the trends that we saw for a while were high demand, hot figures would go up for pre-order, sell out of pre-orders, and then when they came in stock, you'd see more pop up. Then when those would go out of stock, then you'd see more pop up at a much higher inflated price. So the days of waiting for clearance chicken on Masterpiece Transformers it's almost over, unless you're happy to do without that character. If you were fine to do without it, you play the clearance chicken, yeah, maybe I'll take it, maybe I won't. But if you need these two figures to complete your combiner, you need to get them pre-ordered. And that's the way I look at this. You may look at it different. You can tell me in the comments, but it seems like something that's really important to you must get pre-ordered, and you usually get the best price on it, especially when it comes to a Fans Toys product that's in high demand such as this. Also, I just took a look at the recorder, the Fans Toys recorder, their blaster. Looks to be sold out on ShowZ. Probably, I haven't really checked any other places. I'm just going to ShowZ to get these pictures. And as I got the picture, I saw it was sold out. Now, that is another thing, that if you had it pre-ordered, you'd just already have it and it wouldn't be an issue. And you wouldn't have to worry about trying to track it down on the secondary market. But then again, this is a replacement figure. There's already the deformation space and the transistor. Or you're like, well, I guess I can just go pick a transistor up for like $60. So the next tip that I want to discuss is actually more of a two-parter and a question. Would it be better to buy combiners separately, one figure at a time, or all in a box set? Now I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each of those. So the advantage of buying them separately, when it comes to this upcoming Devastator from X-Transbots, now that's going to be $150 a figure. And so it's going to add up to $900 for 6 figures. So with that, $150 one month, and then maybe 2 months later another $150 one, and then maybe a month after that, or maybe they're spaced out every other month over the course of a year, and that's 6 figures every other month, and $150. It won't seem like that much. That's kind of a plus, right? It won't seem like you spent $900 because you stretch it over the course of a year, every other month. It was not that big of a deal, and then you're able to use your points that you get off of that to knock like $5 off of something else, or $4 off of the next order, and those kinds of things. But you don't know the quality, you don't know how it's going to turn out. I mean, obviously you can wait, see a review, okay, cool, it looks good enough, I'm going to go get it. Those are options too, but they may sell out in the time frame for you. But that's a plus and a minus. Now the plus to a box set would be, maybe the box set won't cost $900. Maybe if they do a box set, which X-Transbots has not done yet with any of their combiners, by the way, not even their Minosaur. But if there was a box set, instead of $900, maybe they make it $700. Maybe you save $200, but you have to shell out $700 at one time. So there's a couple of different schools of thought towards the combiners. I'm curious where you stand on combiners. Do you like to buy them separate? Do you like to buy them as a set? And then if there is a set, will there be some extra pieces that they include, or something special, or a fix to an X-Transbot? So my next tip for collecting Masterpiece Transformers is reprioritize your priorities when it comes to collecting. Maybe you kick another line to the curb. Maybe something that's not bringing you joy anymore, and you just don't care about it. You get rid of it. Now, Star Wars Black Series is one of those that's in a strange sort of place right now, that a lot of collectors seem to have distanced themselves from the line. It doesn't seem to be selling very well, and all the releases seem to be very redundant and unnecessary. But for the most part, Star Wars Black Series is something that I have kind of slowed way down on, and I never really was a huge fan of the line in the first place, but I backed off of it myself, and I hear a lot of other people doing it too. And I also watched a video from Sal from 2 Cents Toys, who is selling off his collection. Now, he sold off his collection. People came and bought a ton of stuff from him, but he still has his Star Wars Black Series and most of his Marvel Legends and a few of the other lines, and to me, that kind of says that's a lack of interest from people, from collectors, for something like Star Wars Black Series, but getting away from something that doesn't bring you as much joy and funneling your resources to something that does, like Masterpiece Transformers. My last tip is a side hustle. Now, the reason I'm going to throw this Uber picture up here is because I've actually seen people in live stream chats pop into a live stream and say, I just got done driving Uber so that I can afford to buy whatever their goal is to buy something, and I'm late to this because of the Uber driving. And I really commend that. You know, people that are going to go out of their way to have a side hustle, generate some extra income, some way, to pay for their collection, so it doesn't come out of the family budget, doesn't hurt the family, you're not affecting your family adversely by collecting. Those responsible actions I really admire. And it's not just driving Uber, there's a whole lot of other things you can do. And I used to go to lots of garage sales, and my friends would ask me to look for stuff for them, and I would buy it for them, and they'd usually give me a little extra money if I found what they're looking for. So, I mean, that was one of many side hustles I've had in the past, but I'm not here to talk about all my side hustles in the past. But side hustles are a big way to afford Masterpiece collecting. So anyway, what do you think about these points for affording Masterpiece collecting? What all are you doing to afford the hobby in 2023? Or are you just doing the same? Are you chugging along, doing what you've been doing all along and having a lot of fun? Then did you find anything in this video helpful? Like and subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.